Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Frank Healy, a licensed professional counselor, life coach, and author with more than 4 decades of experience helping people heal emotional wounds, overcome stress, and create meaningful lives. But what makes Frank's story truly extraordinary is that he is one of only about 100 people in the world known to have hyperthermasia, a highly superior autobiographical memory. Wow. Since the age of 6, Frank has remembered virtually every day of his life, including events, emotions, and even what day of the week it was. His unique memory has made him a research subject at the University of California and has given him a rare perspective on how memories shape our emotions, our identity, and ultimately our lives. Through his book, including Heal Your Memories, Change Your Life, and Stress Free Success, Frank teaches people how to release the emotional weight of painful memories, manage stress, and move towards happiness and fulfillment. Frank, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Wow. Okay. So take us back to your younger years, basically. So growing up, when did you first realize your memory was different from others?
Well, it started actually when I was not quite 6 years old. And by the way, I just turned 66, so we're talking 60
Mm.
years ago. I
Oh.
was homesick from kindergarten for a week with this childhood disease, chicken pox, and too sick to even be up playing with toys while I stayed home. And it happened that my Uncle Billy down the street had just given me his company's calendar for the year 1966. So I
Mm.
spent the week looking at each block of a date, and I would look at the block and picture in my head what would be on primetime TV that night and then play the coming on tune in my head. So that by the end of that week, I realized, hey, I know what day of the week every day is going to be this year. That particular year, my birthday, May 21st, was a Saturday. And I knew the Christmas was going to be on a Sunday that year. And so from that week forward, I make mental notes all day of what day it is. So that includes personal experiences and includes noting the weather and if there's significant news on that day. So it's been an ongoing mental process ever since.
Wow. Okay. All right. So looking back, what advice would you give to other people in their 20s who are probably trying to understand themselves, basically?
Well, I was looking forward to this podcast because when I was in my 20s, I was very confused.
Mm.
I like I knew I knew I wanted to help people and was really drawn to the counseling field, but at the same time I wondered, wouldn't that be a waste of my good memory skills? Because I
Mm.
thought maybe I should be an accountant, but I tried accounting my senior year in high school and it was the most boring class I ever took. I just wasn't into it. And then in college, I started with psych, but then I tried economics and I didn't. My dad was an accomplished economist, and I even had some of the same professors at LaSalle University in Philadelphia, PA. And but I wasn't really into that either. I didn't much like the idea of limits to resources, so which is what economics is really about, how to allocate them. So I still, and for those first few years out of college, I worked in little low paid jobs because there weren't near the opportunities there are today in that field. And it wasn't really, and I hope none of you listening out there take this long to realize anything about yourselves, but it took till I was 50 years old and they invited me to the University of California after some phone tests where they threw dates at me and threw events at me to see if I'd get them right. And I realized, oh, so I can use my memory for this, for to be a research subject. And as it turns out, what I have has less to do with numbers and more to do with autobiographical events, things that happened. And it's helped me, but go into the psychology field has been an asset. It's been an asset for me because, I along with all the other things I said about each date, it also includes the emotions I felt for all the events. So when you first hear about that, you might think, "Oh, that is really cool. You remember all these. My must remember all the fun you have, every bit of fun you had on vacations and with friends and on dates and everything and accomplishments you made." Well, that's true, but I also remember very vividly bad days at work and romantic breakups before I finally met my wife, Janet. And so
Mm.
it's so, remembering the bad things. So I studied psychology. I wanted to find a way to not only to help people, but to be able to rid myself of the emotions from the bad memories because I knew I was always going to hold on to the actual memories. So
Mm.
and that's what I've been doing, and I've been feeling good about it for many years now because I felt like I found all those years I was finding my calling and actually moving towards it. And so, and I think it's also important for people listening for you all to realize that if you're in a situation you don't like very much, or a situation, maybe a job or a program in a university where you feel like your talents aren't being utilized, then that's important to help find your calling too, to discover what you don't want. Like in the early 90s, I worked as the director of a psychiatric partial program, and I didn't really like. I discovered I really didn't like being an administrator. I care more about the clients or the patients than I do the workings of the place. So, and as I already talked about, accounting and economics were not my thing either. So, so it's important to experiment. Now, I haven't heard this expression in a few years now, but there used to be, maybe people still say it, but called the tryout 20s. Because
Mm.
when you're in your 20s, you try out different things like different job possibilities, different kinds of relationships, different, lifestyles, and see what works for you. So it's
Mm.
important to do that.
Exactly. Wow. First of all, I would like to say thank you for, sharing your beautiful story and insights with us. And like you've said, right, the tryout 20s. Most of my guests, they usually say your 20s
Yeah,
is actually for trying out new things, right? Try
that's
out
right.
things. Yeah, then you get to know what you like and what you don't like. Because if you don't try things out, you never know what you actually like. And with your story, one can tell that it's okay to not have everything figured out at the beginning, right? Because most people in our 20s today, we feel so much pressure to have it all figured out. Like we want to have life figured out all at once in our 20s, which I think is actually unrealistic, right? So, like I
Yeah,
said,
that's
yeah.
yeah. Well, that's it. Because I mean, we're a much different world now than we were
Mhm.
70, 80 years ago and before in small town America, where if you weren't like back then, like if a woman wasn't married by 25, she was considered a spinster, and old maid would never find somebody. And
Mm.
and a lot of times the men were expected to serve in the military and then use their GI benefits to get a to get some education or some vocational training, and go and go with that. And so, I mean, it was an orderly world, but I think this world we live in today gives everybody more opportunities to choose your lifestyle and
Mm.
see what works and what doesn't. And I'll also say that with a lot of religious practices, like you have a purpose to be, say you have a purpose to be here. And me being Christian, I believe that very strongly. And, you know, but the way you find your purpose is to try out different things and see what works and
Mm.
what doesn't.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So yes, thank you, Frank, for that beautiful one. Like you said, the
Yeah.
tryouts when it's the
Yeah.
first time I'm actually hearing that, so I'm gonna say it more often actually. All right. So
Okay.
yes, I want us to we've explored hypothymesia, right? But I feel like some people might not know what it means. Right. So what does it actually mean?
Well, what it means is you remember events in your life better. Now, the University of California termed it highly superior autobiographical memory, but me being a writer, I prefer to just call it superior autobiographical memory because that's more grammatically correct. But I think it's important to, like we remember dates. And at one point, around the fall of 2013, there was some articles that came out that were referring to us as basically poor forgetters. It's like
Hmm.
we just don't. We, I mean, a lot of people have a filter where you can conveniently forget about bad memories, but allegedly we don't have that. But I find that a little bit of hard to believe when one of the tests they gave myself and the others was uh, a CAT scan of our brains. And what they discovered
Right.
is our parts of our frontal lobes where we do our direct thinking are almost twice the size of the average person's.
Hmm.
And so it's as if we have more capacity to store memories.
Wow. Okay. So is it just memories or well, everything is memory actually. So I was thinking, right, like what was it like writing exams then? I mean,
Well, I think I had said before that it was kind of a mixture of a blessing and a curse, but
hmm.
and I write about these things in my book, in some of my books, especially the
Mhm.
Heal Your Memory series. It's three, where I've been able to make it into a blessing by letting go of the fear emotions from the bad memories. So it's kind of like the three books in my Heal Your Memory series there, and you can find all this on Amazon, and some of them you can get to on my website, Healy's Healing, because I have the perfect last name for a healer. So it's kind of yeah. So what you do? So these three books were a combination of I took 12 to 15 people who had been through some horrific things in their life, but overcame
Mhm.
them and are now happy and thriving. Like some of the things they've been through included school bullying, workplace bullying, rape on the streets of Chicago, and there was a career sidelining injury for a man who wanted to be a police officer, and and a lady who's still alive in her at 92 now, who grew up in war torn Europe during World War II and all the trauma that caused, and those are so that's part of the books, and the other part of it is exercise, little exercises that the reader can do to heal themselves of the memories, of the bad negative effects of the memories.
Hmm. Wow. Okay, like you said, heal your memories. Now I want us to talk about memories, right? Because there are some painful memories that it's difficult to heal from, right? Especially some people just stay stuck in that feeling, they can't actually move past it, which then affects other areas of their life. Right. Coming from you who has like the hyper memory, like you wouldn't forget things, I feel like you're the right person to teach someone how to actually heal their memory. Right. So what are the things one
Well,
can do to heal their emotions when it comes to some certain memories?
well, there's a few things that a few exercises in the books, and I'll detail one of them here. This is a variation on an exercise that originated from NLP, neuro linguistic programming. I modified it, and
Mm,
what you do is first pick an unhappy memory and pick a happy memory that you've had. And then you get into a deep meditative state. Just basically just close your eyes and relax. And then
mm,
in your head, you detail the bad memory, the sights, the sounds, how your body felt, if there were any sense or anything. But just for a minute, then you let go of that, and for 2 minutes you insert the happy memory in your mind and visualize and use all your other senses to bring that to life. And you keep going back and forth with more time on the good memory. So, and after about 10 to 15 minutes of doing that, you can find that the emotional sting from the bad memory isn't as strong and might even be gone completely.
mm,
Because it's like, so then if the bad memory pops up again, you're just like, so what, it happened, but there won't be the emotion, you won't have the emotional charge of it anymore.
mm. Wow. It's funny how when you were saying it, I was actually practicing it, right? And
Uh,
yes, I would say you're right. I mean, at first I started with the bad memory, like you said, then you move to the good, the bad, the good. And then I eventually started to, not feel anything when I think of the bad memory. And then I kept on smiling when it was the
yeah,
good memory.
yeah,
So,
there
yeah,
you go. It's just
wow.
part of how the brain works because we're really programmed to feel good. It's just
Mm,
we put stuff on there, and I think God and nature designed us to only feel feelings like anxiety, sadness for short periods of time. Like anxiety, if you're in some real danger, to feel that and it'll help you get out of it, at least reflexively, it will. And depression, sadness, maybe if you have to mourn a loved one. But we're not meant to stay stuck in those unhappy feelings and even anger. Well, if you stay angry for too long, it's going to negatively affect every system in your body. So it can be like a ticket to poor health.
mm,
So, letting go all, of all of that can be really beneficial. And so, because a lot of times, like the way we see the world and think and respond to things, and even the beliefs that we've accumulated, really come from our memories. So that's why it's just so important to heal the effects of your negative memories.
wow. Oh, okay. Wow. I like that you acknowledged the bad memories, right? Like you said,
Yes.
anxiety and should I say stress, right? These are normal emotions, but they are not meant to be there for a long period of time, right? We're not supposed to feel it majorly for very long. It should be a moment, right? Then we should get back to feeling good because that is how it is designed. But the world we are in now, most people feel more of the bad memories than the good ones. So it's important, like you've said, it's possible to actually, feel the good memories more. And when the bad memories come, you could, just switch up and then go back to feeling better, right? The memories might
Yes,
not
that's right.
necessarily, right? They might not necessarily go, but you could control your emotions when it comes to those boys. Wow. Okay.
That's
So,
right.
right. So thank you, Frank. I would say I'm learning a lot actually, and uh, this one I just learned. I'm definitely going to be practicing it more often. Right. And
Right.
yes, I want us to, talk about stress-free success. Right. So your latest book, it
Okay.
focuses on success without stress. So why do so many people actually have to associate success with suffering?
Well, I think it's I wanted to create well-rounded healthy people through my writing of that book, and I actually last month released a follow-up, burnout proof, and to stress-free success. And the idea is like a lot of people, like there are people who really strive for success, but they're really stressed all the time, and they
Mm,
sacrifice other things in their lives, like their families, social life, and a lot of different community life, and they don't take care of themselves and then can get sick. And then there are other people who are real into meditation and stress management, but they don't have the drive to do to do the groundwork to succeed. So the intention of that book was to create to help people find find that balance. Like it includes motivational ideas, but also includes things like meditation, breathing exercises, and different structuring your life in a balanced way, different ways to make sure you take care of yourself and take care of your stress too without sacrificing working hard and going after your goals.
mm, wow. All right. So yes, thank you, Frank, for sharing this beautiful insight with us. And we've spoken about, working, actually striving for success without having to, suffer, or should I use the word burnout, basically, because most people
Yeah,
have to, in their quest for success, they abandon every other areas of their life and then, just they just burn out, basically. So,
yeah.
what does now we know that you could actually strive for success and other areas of your life will still be okay, right? So that is what we call success without stress, basically. So now I'm curious. I want to know what does success mean to you? Should I say now compared to, when you were younger?
Well, when I was younger, success meant making a certain amount of money and finding the right woman to marry, and yeah, go with friends, and and family was always important to me. And but now as a 60 something, success is making contributions to the world. I mean, I make enough money, but I'm still with my books, and now I'm starting to get into making making videos. I'm going to make a video of burnout proof to where
Mm,
people can listen to and just go right to the exercises. So success means my my wife and my family, and helping as many people as I can through my counseling and my books. And also I'm hoping one day that they'll discover I mean, there's some stuff in the works, but really limited in what I can share about them. But I'm hoping one day that they will discover a gene variant with this hyperthymesia to create a medication to stop Alzheimer's and the dementias. And
mm,
that would be so great because I've had my dad, who was a brilliant man throughout his life, spent the last few years of his life with vascular dementia, and he was so smart. He worked for HUD and the federal government, Housing and Urban Development. He taught economics at the Wharton School in Penn as well as LaSalle. But in the last years of his life, he couldn't even tell where to place his utensils on the table. And now my mother-in-law is going through some of that. And I would love to see that one day nobody will ever have to go through that again if they create a medication for it.
Wow. Personally, I hope so too. I really hope that no one has to go through that. I hope we get to the point where, medications comes out for things like this and there's finally a cure for, dementia, Alzheimer. And personally, I would say, although there's a cure for cancer, but like there's a stage where cancer gets to, it's almost like there's no cure. But I would hope that there would be medication that would be out for severe cancer cases, right? That's what I would say because it's eating people up, and I pray that the world gets better, basically. So yes,
Yes.
thank you,
Well,
Frank.
despite all the wars and everything going on in the world, there are parts of the world. There are parts of the world, in fact, yeah, that are getting better.
Mm,
It's
okay.
really there's always progress, no matter what leaders try and stop it for their own selfish gain. There's always good that goes on in the world, but a lot of it you don't hear on the news because it's not sensational enough. But
Mm,
there is much more good than bad in the world.
exactly. Well, actually, that is true. I was speaking with someone recently that said, the bad news gets the publicity the most, actually, because, I don't know what science I don't know what can prove that, basically, but most of the time, it's usually the bad news that gets the most publicity, but it doesn't stop the fact that there are good things happening out there. Basically, a whole lot of good things happening.
Well,
So,
that's
yeah.
right, because the news is all about excitement and getting people's adrenaline going. But there's a lot of, I mean, people. I mean, can you imagine if they put on the news each day things like, I mean, there is some good that goes on the news, like when somebody recovered from a disease and they show them
Mm,
leaving the hospital finally, and neighborhood all greeting them, and there is some good, and there's more of that, but there's a lot. I mean, can you imagine if they put on the news that thousands upon thousands of commuters made it home safely after work today, or if they put on, yeah, there were somebody who had no other opportunities to go to school and get an education had a successful full GoFundMe, and now they're going. If it was all
mm,
that stuff, it would be great, but it wouldn't be as sensational.
right. Exactly. Well, that's true, actually. That's very true. So I think this should serve as like a um should I say, motivation for people out there to, just live better and do better, show love to people out there, just live with joy, basically. Because I mean, there's so much goodness in the world, and we just have to bask in it. And
Yeah,
right,
that's
like
right.
and the theme of our conversation, why basking in good news? You heal, right? Heal from, bad memories, basically. Heal your
That's
memory.
right.
Right. So yes, thank you, Frank. I would say this has been amazing. And yes, my final question today would be, you know, my podcast, right, is about young adults who are, trying to gain clarity when it comes to life. And I know you've been giving advice to young adults, but I believe you have more to, share with us. So finally, do you have any advice for young people who are probably anxious about the future or they don't know what exactly to do?
Well, I think it's important, in addition to what I said already, is try out different things. Another,
Mm,
an additional advice would be to be patient with yourself, because
mm,
a lot of things do take a long time. I mean, you can play a video game instantly or look something up on your cell phone or laptop and get the information. But a lot of the most gratifying things in life take time to achieve. So be patient with yourself and be patient with the world too. You
mm,
know, and you'll get there when you persevere. Because one of one things I did a lot of when I was a kid and had more free time was I used to read biographies of successful people. And the conclusion I drew that seemed to be a thread that ran through the whole thing is that all of them is that the most successful people are the ones that work the hardest and don't give up if there's a blip or an obstacle. They use it as a
mm,
learning opportunity. So it's not necessarily the most talented or an intelligent, although it could be, but the defining factor is how hard you try and work and keep at it.
mm. Wow. Oof. All right. So yes, thank you, Frank, for such powerful advice you've given to us today. And personally, I'm going to, adopt it and put it in my daily life, right? And I hope,
Okay, great.
all right, and I hope my listeners will do the same as well. So yes, it's been a pleasure to, talk
Yes.
to you today. And it brings me to the
Yes, it's been a
final
pleasure.
segment, right? Okay, so it brings me
Yes,
to
it's
the, uh, can you hear me?
yes, yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So yes, the final segment, I call it the rapid fire segment, right? So you could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. So what is one daily habit that keeps you grounded?
Well, I would say praying with my wife and alone. It's and giving my best to everything I do in the day. Those are
Hmm,
two things that keep me grounded and going.
okay. So what is one book everyone should read?
Are you talking about books in general or my books?
Well, books in general, including yours. So whichever one works fine.
Well, I think the stress, my stress-free success is a definite. You know that everyone should read that who has ambition, but also needs to learn to take care of themselves.
Hmm, wow. And finally, what is one word that describes this season of your life?
Mm. Well, I'd say content.
Hmm, okay. All right. So yes, thank you, Frank. And finally, before you go, where can listeners get to, learn more about you and also connect with you?
Okay, well, my website, Healy's Healing, is is one way, and also you can see all my books, well, some of my books there, as well as read some articles and join my mailing list. I have a giveaway item if you join my mailing list, and and I'm also okay with giving my personal email out if anyone would like. It's all lowercase, HELYS. Then you repeat HEAL, Healy's Heal, then the number one at msn.com. So Healy's Heal one at msn.com.
Hmm.
And so
All
those are a
right.
couple ways you can get a hold of me. And
Okay. All
I
right.
have a Facebook page and Instagram. So if you go memory healing, you'll get to my Facebook page.
Okay. How about Instagram?
Yes, I have an Instagram. I have Instagram too, and so That's I know a lot of you in your 20s prefer Instagram over Facebook. So I do have an Insta. If you put my name in, it should come up my Instagram page.
Okay. All right, you're right about that one actually. And I'm going to put your links in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. And to my listeners, I would say thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone you think might need this. And also, subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Once again, thank you, Frank, and do have a wonderful day ahead of you.
Yes, you too.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Mm.